Thurston put him on his back. Thurston, right foot kick, down the ground, into the in goal almost. Hodgson cuts it off. Hodgson taken by Norton. He took him late. Marshall skips away. Marshall's still going. Marshall's got Richards coming up outside. Now inside. Richards pursued. He pushes Johnson away.
Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 14th of May. You're back for another episode of the Tiger Town podcast with your hosts, Zac and Toby. I'm Zac, he's Toby. How are you this evening, mate?
Yeah, mate, not bad. Again, it's Groundhog Day. I say this every week. Not bad. Apart from the loss. But, everyone says we're on the up, so I just need to believe it.
Well, apparently that's what Richo says in emails to members.
Yeah, apparently he's improvement, but I just want to see it on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. But everything else is going well?
Yeah, same old shit, different day.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing changes. So.
No, well, that's it. Nothing changes, especially in the wins column for our side.
No. And, it's getting harder and harder to do these podcasts, to be honest. It's getting harder and harder. Especially when you just, all you can talk about is a loss. Can't talk about a lot of positives. It's deja vu to last.
Yeah, it gets a little bit tiring trying to put a positive spin on everything every single week, even though there are positives in every game, win or loss.
Yeah,
but
you do it about it. I'm getting worse and worse, I think, at doing it.
Oh, look, it's hard. It's hard work. Let's be frank. You got to, we're playing a competitive. Sorry, we're not playing. Yeah, right. I keep moving. Don't derail my train of thought. We're not playing. We are following a professional sport, and it's not much fun following a professional sport whose team doesn't win football games.
No, not at all. And
which is bleedingly obvious.
When it's basic shit that needs to be improved on, it's very, very frustrating to watch.
Tigers went down 20-14 against the Knights, 3 p.m. last Saturday in Tamworth. If you weren't already aware, once again, they were run down after leading early in the game and losing 3-4. Mate, what did you? I guess we've started to open up the can of worms. What did you make of the game in a brief summary?
Oh, excuse me. I think it's an absolute repeat of the week before. But we started off, had a very strong first half, and then didn't come out of the sheds again in the second half. So, it was almost copy-paste. And it's, Benji's come out and saying he just wants us to learn from our mistakes. I mean, that looked like they didn't even pay attention in class. No.
Yeah, well, it's a good point you make, because he did go to the effort of saying that in a lot of his, whether it's coaching insider or his, I guess, comments during the week about learning from mistakes and growing in those situations. And to your point, it seemed to play out in very similar fashion, albeit the Knights got ahead that bit early. But
yeah, and it's another. I don't know. It's hard to put words together in terms of if it's an exact, almost copy-paste of the week before. What were you doing when you were reviewing tape? What were you doing? Were you sitting there staring at the ceiling? Like, seriously, it's, they are professional athletes who, this is what you get paid for. And, mind you get paid a pretty penny, most of them. And you can't fix a few simple things. And that's the frustrating thing. Like, if we can see it as people that aren't in the midst of it all, aren't in the dugout with them, aren't whatever, another, euphemism or whatever you want to say alongside that, and we can see these things that need to be improved on, they review tape. What do they look at? So, yeah. Look, just walked away again on Saturday with, I feel like I'm getting more and more angry as the season's going on. I've been quite subdued, quite calm a lot of the time. Bitter is
probably the word.
What was that, sorry?
Bitter is probably the word.
Probably. No, I think there's quite a bit of anger sprinkled in there as well. But yeah, it was just, I don't want to dwell on it too much again, but I guess that's what we have to do in this podcast is we have to analyze and see what we can come up with and talk about the game. But I mean, like a lot of our listeners, we just want to fucking talk about positives. We want to talk about wins.
We do, exactly right. And you put the positives in there as a bit of a placeholder until the wins arrive. Because when you talk about wins, you want to talk about positive efforts or whatnot on the field that come off the back of that. It does, to your point, become a little bit mundane and repetitive to try to constantly sift through the mire of close and disappointing losses to find the positives in those types of situations. Because to me, if I want to talk positives, let's talk positives. The positives on the weekend were, generally speaking, once again, they're in the game. Right now, I'm not saying that these positives are going to outweigh or even compete with many of the negatives, but they're in the game. They're in the game up until their eyeballs. What are some of the other positives? Some of the other positives are that, once again, we're not having teams' shapes pull us to shreds. So our defensive structures, for the most part, are doing their job. Knights scored 20 points. However, they didn't particularly strip us overly well, if you look at how they scored their tries. There was a long-range break from a poor individual effort, which is not structure. There was the Bradman Best one-on-one miss with Naden, which was an individual effort, which is not structure. And there was the Dane Gagai miracle kick with 8 seconds prior to that. They scored a fourth as well. What was the other one? Trying to think.
I think it was another Bradman Best one across the line. He ran over the top of Butt, I think.
Armstrong.
Yep.
Yep. Sorry, no, Armstrong scored the one that was the breakaway one. It was probably Marju, which I guess that one we can credit for their structure as opposed to an individual. That's paradoxically a bit of a positive because our structures for the most part are holding up and we're able to break them down. So we're not getting constantly stripped out on edges, which in the past that was the plan A, B through C when you played the Tigers is go to Nofaluma's edge, swing it round and put the passes where they need to be and running the runners where they need to run and you'll score several tries down their side. Minimum. So that's, I guess, a positive. What else is a positive? Bud played all right. Isaiah and we'll expand on these as when we go through the players. Isaiah, I think, played one of his best games in a very long time, close to one of his best games for the club in the middle. And I think Locke is definitely an experiment worth persisting with for now from what we saw on the weekend. That was a positive. I thought Charlie Staines, with the exception of that ridiculous read that he gave, continues to play decent football without being spectacular. I thought Jareem Buller looked dangerous once again. His running game most definitely. But now I get my brief summary. And my brief summary, mate, is moments. We're not winning any moments at the moment. Now, generally speaking, the Tigers in the past have won some moments, but just not enough, and they haven't been competitive enough to make that count. We're not winning any moments. We're not getting any single literal bounce of the ball bounce into our arms. We saw Justin Olam looking ready to almost score a certain try, except the ball decided to grubber 6 or 7 bounces in a row. It was a classic Lockie Galvin grubber. And so even if it pops up at some point earlier, it might not go into his hands, but he might have got there. Stafford Toa pulls his hamstring as he's about to score a try. He was clearly in front and was there first to the ball. Pulls a hamstring. Whether it's those things, whether it's the calls that we've gone through ad nauseum, and spoiler alert, we're not going to talk about the refs in this game.
Yeah.
Whether it is anything that Brent Naden did on the weekend. You know, I can't think of the examples at the moment, but I know there's been individual examples. If you many of you are probably screaming into your headphones at the moment, saying, "Oh, what about this one?" But the one-on-one miss for Naden. You know, and that same thing happened earlier in the year. There was just a simple one-on-one miss when nothing's happening, and these other sides are getting those moments, and we're not getting a single one of them. We're not getting a contestation for a high ball that bounces into a player's arms that happens to be shepherding right there. Those types of situations aren't happening for us at the moment. And that's how I sum it up. Because if you go back and look at the teams that we've played so far in and around our general vicinity, we lost to the Knights by a try. We lost to the Bulldogs by a try. We lost to the Dolphins by a try. We lost to the Dragons by 2 tries. However, if you'll recall, one of them was the ridiculous bounce that bounced over Charlie Staines' head as he was about to come through off an Aiden Caesar kick, which would have been a try, and they went down the very next set in Lomax scores. So that could have been 3 tries apiece. And it's those, again, there's another moment. We're not getting a single moment in that situation. Other teams might be getting their fair share, a few bits and pieces, but it's allowing them to get an extra try or save an extra try or an extra try or 2 or an extra opportunity or 2. And that is the difference. When you're losing by 1 try, like we keep saying this, let's be honest, and I'm as bad as anybody, but if you look objectively in that regard, have we been playing well?
Oh, is that a question?
Yeah.
Depends on what you call well.
Have we been playing for 80 minutes? Have we been playing to our potential?
No.
So we haven't been playing to our potential. Have we been missing key players early in the year, first few months of the year?
Yep.
So we've been under strength. Despite all that, all these sides around the table, the likes of the Bulldogs, who people are saying, oh, they're building well, we're losing 2 by a try. Also getting bugger all luck. Also not having refereeing decisions in past games go our way. That's it at the moment. I don't have a solution for that. We can talk about things we can put in place to try to remedy it. We can talk about the fact things we can't put in place. But that's what's going wrong. And I'm sure we'll jump in and talk about a lot of individual moments. I'll cut my mic off for a little bit now because that's the rant to end all rants, but that's where I'm at.
No, but it was a good one. It was cathartic, and I enjoyed it. And it's, when you talk about those moments, a lot of luck plays into that. So, we just got to wait for the football gods to smile down upon us and let us have a bit of that luck for once. And the other part of it is putting yourself in the position for those moments to come off. And, there was times when there was, you talk about moments. I think I remember 2 contests for the ball. Some of the times we were just looking at them. And that's, whether it goes back, forward, sideways, up, down, whatever. If you contest for the ball, at least you give yourself the opportunity to take that moment.
You mean like when Brendan competed for the ball, had only eyes for the ball, made contact with the ball, and got called for a disruptor, even though he was genuinely a prospect of catching the football? I remember that. Yeah, I remember that moment.
Yeah.
I said I wouldn't talk about what the fuck was that decision? Holy shit.
Oh, there was... I actually, to be honest, I thought the refereeing wasn't as bad as it has been for us in the past. So I think that was one of the big games.
Mentioned not 3 minutes ago we weren't going to talk about the refs because of that reason.
Yeah, but then we'll bring that up. We'll just sort of sidetrack into that.
He probably should have at least sin bin Papali'i.
Well, for the trip, yeah. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Very lucky.
And that was
lucky it wasn't a send-off, to be honest.
I think the reason that he didn't get sin bin was because if you really have a look at it, he didn't really get that much contact with it. The guy just sort of jumped and fell over. You could see that it was coming. I think that was the only saving grace.
Oh, yeah. Leo Thompson was scoring, though. So, I don't know. If we win that game, do you almost cop a week for Papali'i for that? I don't know.
Yeah. Look,
at
the end of the day, like you said, there's been, there's a silver lining to everything. There's goods and there's good things and there's bad things, but I've got to keep reminding myself how inexperienced this team really is together as a football group. We've got probably the best hooker in the game at the moment. Well, one of the best hookers in the game, definitely. But he's trying to, I guess, build this team together and get them to gel. But, a lot of them, you got an 18-year-old at 5'8". You've got a 21-year-old or 22-year-old at fullback. Your halfback's been different 3 times in 10 games. So it's,
Okay.
yeah.
So, based upon those things and based upon what we've mentioned, I'm not explaining anything away. I think you could hear from the tone of my voice the moment I picked up the microphone that I'm frustrated, like everyone.
You just control a better.
Are we trending in the right direction?
Well, this is a conversation it's kind of a conversation you and I had either yesterday or the day before, where I decided to do a bit of, I guess,
investigative journalism.
That's a really great way to say it, but that puts me in a sort of category of buzz, and that don't want to be in that category at all. I did a bit of research, and I wanted to look at how we were performing in terms of what we've been working on according to Benji, and that's our defense. And what did I say? I'll bring up what I mentioned because, I think it is something that really people, if you look at stats alone, it's kind of hard to say that we have improved or we're trending upwards, because last year we were actually one of the best defensive teams in the comp. We really were. Our tackle efficiency, we had the best tackle efficiency. We were 17th for ineffective tackles. This year so far we're 11th. So we're still, pretty good in terms of our tackle efficiency, just not what we were.
I know you. Sorry, on that point, I know you're making comparison between 23 and 24, but you just said we had great. What did you say? Great defense last year.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have a look, and I'm not challenging you on it. Sorry, I'm just curious what our against was, and if you're saying that our tackle efficiency is. So I'm just trying to go to the end of the season. What did you say tackle efficiency was last year? You said it was the best.
It was the best in terms of ineffective tackles.
Yeah. We conceded 675, which was the second worst defence last year. So how come last year we had the best tackle efficiency, yet we had the second worst defence for points conceded? I wonder.
Goal line defence was horrid.
So but in order for somebody to score, do they have to miss a tackle? Or is it you're saying that they don't have to miss a tackle if they are...
If they strip us, they don't.
Yeah, interesting.
So you think about who we kept putting on a wing.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to structures, what we were talking about before. In a few ways, someone's going
that's what I'm saying. Like, if we look purely at stats.
Points off, tries off kicks. I think we conceded a lot of tries off kicks last year, which might speak to positional play or inability to diffuse kicks, which we haven't been great on. Yeah,
well, I'll just keep going because you're talking about the end of the year as well. Again, you look at the stats alone, and this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And this is why I want you to chime in, because you have a tendency to sort of look a bit deeper than just the stats. But if we looked at missed tackles, we were 15th at the end of the year. So far, we're 9th. So we're missing more tackles than we were last year. At this point last year...
Interesting. Interesting. You said we were 9th for missed tackles at this point last year?
No, this year we're 9th. We were 15th last year.
We were 15th. What were we for tackle efficiency first?
17th.
Oh, we were last for tackle efficiency.
No, we were first for tackle efficiency because we were 17th for ineffective tackles.
Wow, okay. So that's interesting, isn't it? So you look at something like tackle efficiency and you would make the assumption, so we were first, we were the best. So the best tackle efficiency.
We were the best.
We had the 15th most missed tackles. and the 17th most ineffective tackles. So what that would say is that if our tackle efficiency was still so high to be the best, we must have made clear and away the most tackles at the opening start of the year, which means we were starved of possession.
See, this is why I needed your input in that, because you look a bit deeper.
Well, anyway,
so,
we're going on sidetrack. Sorry, my fault. But
no, that's what I was saying. Like, you know, like I said, you look deeper than I do, and I'm just pulling up pure stats to see, because you asked, do you see an upward trend? And I'm like, well, if we look purely at stats, no. But there is a lot more nuance to this that people give it credit for, and that's why I needed your input on that.
Than people give credit for. So tell me the nuance. So when you talk about that, right, so stats-wise, and those stats are bang on, you did a good job pulling that stuff up. It's good when you look at it when you sent it through earlier. You got to look at the sniff test and the eye test, right? And the eye test in many ways doesn't agree that we are equal. So what are you seeing? What's the context around, forget the numbers, but the context around why that might seem the same? What are you seeing that tells you otherwise?
In terms of why I feel like there is an upward trend in terms like going against
I think I think we're referencing specifically defence based upon the stats he just pulled up. So let's talk defence to start. Why do you think that even though the stats stay looking the same, the eye test, would you agree? Probably doesn't. Probably says we're improving.
Well, see, here's the other thing too. The other point was at this point last year, our for and against, or our against was minus 70. This year, our against is minus 69.
Yeah.
So we've conceded one less point than we did last year.
That's what I'm saying. So the stats say we're equal, but I'm asking you, do you agree with the eye test or? Watching us defend, do you think we look last year?
I think we definitely look stronger. Last year, I think there's been instances where they have put players out of position, which doesn't bode well. And by that, I mean Bateman being somewhere that where he doesn't tie up an edge or something like that, which would be interesting this week. But
do you mean by selection or by injury? Because we've had a few instances. I know everybody's had injuries, but we've had a few instances of that.
Yeah. The thing is, and this is another instance where I think we are improving in, where we haven't for a long period of time, and that is when we see a deficiency one week in terms of the lineup that has been selected, it has changed the next week. He doesn't stick to his guns and go, no, it's going to work. It's going to work. The old Madge style. It's going to work. You just got to let it run its course. So, for instance, I think it was round 4, maybe, Bateman got shifted to lock, and his side just, no one could tie it up. They looked very weak down that side. I think Bud was on that side as well. And the next week he's back in second row. And it just seemed a lot tighter, a lot stronger. And that's one thing where we are improving is not sticking to our guns in terms of a selection that clearly didn't work and going to what does work.
So Benji's willing to make changes on the run and willing to experiment around a little bit, but he's not slow to act in terms of selections, at least.
No. And that's, that is a positive. Again, that's something that we can be, I guess, at least excited about, that we're not going down the old road of stick and pick. Pick and stick, that's the word. That's the thing. But I think for me, there's definitely been improvement, like you said, in terms of our structures. There's definitely been improvement in terms of some of our players' intent. There's been obviously instances where that hasn't been the case. But I think one point that we are lacking a little bit in, and I've noticed it quite a bit, I could probably single out one player who's been a prime example of this, has been laziness. Not pushing hard to market, not pushing hard from marker. And, the guy that's always been Mr. Reliable, Alex Toll, he's been a big example of this. So I think we've improved in some areas. I think we have. I think we've gone backwards in others. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, it's a bit like that, isn't it? It's like we're juggling at the moment. And the moment that we look good in one area, the following week that area becomes a spot of weakness, or we don't back it up, and another area looks good. And then that week there's also a new area of concern, and so we patch that up the following week, and then another area leaks out. It's like you're constantly trying to patch the leaks with your hand, and something always starts squirting out. And so even if there was one inconsistency or one area that we needed to improve, we could work on patching that long term. Let's say an edge was weak, for example, we could look to recruit, or we could look to try to provide more cover in that way, or maybe play around with selections. But at the moment, the edge is the problem. Then the following game, we go, oh, great, the edge actually held up really well. Oh, the other edge fell to bits.
Yeah.
Oh, so the next game, next game we go and fix the other edge. All of a sudden, then the middle's getting lazy, and we're getting done around the ruck. Whereas the previous weeks prior, the ruck held up all right. That's the thing at the moment. And is that a consistency thing? Well, I guess obviously, but I guess it comes back down to those intangibles in terms of how you prepare and how you play. And yeah, interesting. It's funny you mentioned Twal, because Twal was the one that missed the inside cover on Bradman Best when he went downfield, and Buller ended up stripping the ball, wasting a challenge, and getting sin bin for it. So, look, I thought Twal actually had a good game. Speaking of Twal, and we'll get to him shortly, but better than what he had been, because I was saying last week I'm ready to drop him.
Yeah,
from the game, not in real life. He's an absolute legend in real life. Yeah, and look, yeah, I'm be critical of that play in particular. Okay, mate. Anything else you want to add generically or holistically, and we can start going through each of the players and seeing how or what thoughts we had on their performances?
No, not really. But I think you talk about that the miss from Twal. That's another exact what you were talking about in moments. Just not standing up, not standing up in that moment. And
but as is the cover, like as is Buller's cover. He covers him easily, wraps him up well. He holds him down well, and then decides to strip the ball once the tackle's completed, and then burns a challenge on it. Like, we talk about dumb footballers and dumb football moments, like Brent Naden skipping to the outside, even though the ground's basically covered in castor oil twice. Yeah. We call them dumb plays. Charlie Staines coming in, but that all contributes, right, to the moments thing we were talking about before. There's little individual brain farts. Should we go back to Asu Kapoa running a line on Felt and giving him a chance to milk a penalty? Should we go back to Junior Pauga being offside from the goal kick and touching the football, costing us a victory in that game? Should we go back to Jock Madden, who had the ball covered up in the Titans' debacle of a game, and then they scored after the bell because he fell on the ground and he fumbled it, even though he had it in his grasp? We've never, for years, been able to capitalise on these moments. That's exactly what we're talking about.
But why? That's the thing that's like, is it inexperience? Is it poor leadership? What is it that, has these moments like where other teams just know exactly what they need to do at any point in time? Is it come down to the coaching? Like, it's probably a combination of all things, but we just haven't, like you said, we haven't had it for years, and it's just, at times it feels like you're beating your head against a brick wall, because you're like, if we're seeing this consistently, how are the players not? So
especially on the intelligence front, and things like overcommitting. Like, how many times have we said that? And then you see, what does Charlie Staines do? Come in completely unnecessarily and single-handedly cause a try. Like, so unnecessary. Yeah,
ridiculous.
All right, mate. Buller. I thought Buller had a good game. Personally, I know that there's a few little bits and pieces going on there, but I said this. I probably skipped 3 weeks, two or three games, but prior to that, it looked to me like he was building all the time in attack. And I know our attack is still only scoring 12 to 14 points a game, but he's looking stronger as the season goes on and more comfortable in that role. I'm just trying
250 metres.
250 metres. I'm just trying to have a look at his attacking stats. Sorry.
Had 6 tackle breaks.
Yeah, you got it. You beat me to it.
He had 6 tackle breaks. That's basically what they're saying.
That's all they're saying. I mean, yeah, I think
it's not just that. It's what he did off the ball as well. I have been very critical of Buller the last 3 weeks. So much so, I think I mentioned that I was getting frustrated with him and the fact that we had no competition for that spot. I'd look to get Taruva over now and take him back to New South Wales Cup so he could learn how to be an attacking fullback. I've been very critical of him. And that's not to say I don't love Buller. I mean, I think he could be an absolute gem of a player. But it was just getting frustrating to watch. But on the weekend, I thought he was back to his best.
Yeah, he made a
very, very stupid decision. And they did score during that time. But to have 6 tackle breaks and 250 run meters, he tried everything he could to redeem himself. So
I swear he had a line break assist. I swear he popped his nose through about 3 or 4 times or had an offload or something. And he's looking more and more dangerous, which is exciting because we need ammunition in the rifle at the moment. It's a bit rusty and a bit jammed. And he's one that we need. Charlie Staines, I mentioned before, he made that ridiculous decision to come in. He won't be doing that again, I would say. I hate, as a centre, when I played, I hate wingers not trusting their inside man. You only come in if the player's already gone. Otherwise, it's on them anyway. Outside of that, I thought he was relatively strong, ran the ball with purpose, one of the few who did. Not a complete diamonds game, but it was okay.
For me, that situation put a massive damper on my opinion of his game. I find it very hard to look past it. So
yeah, fair enough too. Stuff Toa. Now, obviously, he's injured his hamstring again, so he's out again for up to another 8-week period. So that's rough. That's rough on him, and it's rough on the side because evidently, looking at our side this week, he and Olam were our first choice centres when available.
Yep.
So, and of course, in the act of scoring a try, and it wasn't close. At full tilt, he gets there clearly first. It could only happen to West Tigers. We're finding new and exciting ways still, after all this time, to not score tries.
So, look, again, I think what did he play? Like 14 minutes. So he played literally 14 minutes. But he had 2 runs for 18 metres. 14 minutes, like he made over 10 metres, almost 10 metres a run. And I think it's so unlucky for the bloke. Again, I was critical of him in the Raiders game, but then he got injured and he came back. But I said it on last week's pod. I thought he was one of our biggest improvers last year, and so I feel sorry for the kid.
He needs some football under his belt as well because last year he played well in little patches, but he was wildly inconsistent, and consistency is only going to come from playing a lot of football in sequence. Yeah, so unfortunate. I hope he comes back. He's still got something to offer. He's here for another couple of years, I think, so he'll be back up at least. Justin Olam, hard to see much of him. He had a few heavy carries out, and then I think at one stage he was even out there playing wing.
He ended up just being Mr. Fix-It where he was needed.
So it was back together because obviously Bateman went out to cover Toa, and then Bateman, then went and tore a pec.
Yep.
So then they had to have Sam Weller go out to the centres, and what had happened is, and Buller was off, so Charlie Staines had gone to the back. That's what had happened. And so then Olam had to go to the wing that Charlie Staines was off. So it's interesting to seeing Olam on the wing, but hopefully they luckily they didn't bomb him, because I reckon you could just about stand up and just grab the ball. I don't know if Juzzy's got much of a jump or a leap on him.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen him actually try to jump. So I just think he did what he had to in every position he was playing, I didn't think he was great. I didn't think he was amazing, but I didn't think he was bad. So I think he just had to do his job, and he did it.
Yeah. All right, mate. Brent Naden made 6 tackles, missed 5, 1 ineffective.
Fuck, he was given a bath by Best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, look,
3 errors. That wouldn't include some of the other decisions and whatnot was made. It was an absolute stinker.
yeah, it was. He's lucky we've got a lot of injuries, because if Benji's ready to pull the trigger on a lot of things these days, he would have been booted from the side.
Yeah, it's hard though. I mean, it is one game. We've been saying he's been playing well, so I just think he had a typical Naden game. He goes well for a few games, and then he has an absolute stinker. And if you talk about Cameron Smith's best and worst being not very far apart, Brent Naden is the polar opposite. He can win you a game, or he can single-handedly lose you a game.
And that's what he did.
You put, I don't know, some other centre from our club. Who else is there available?
Fatape.
Yeah, Fatape, someone. And we go a long way to not losing that game.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, the first instance where he tried to go to the outside and he got pushed over sliding, you're like, it's silly, but you can forgive him for that. The second one, you're like,
it was a long way too. It was a long way. It was like 5 meters that he slid.
yeah, you can forgive him for that, because it's you're trying to create something. You're pushed on a slippery surface. You're like, that was silly, you idiot. Yeah, move on. The second time, you've got to put your hands up and say that was fucking stupid. It's just it was so disappointing to watch, and at times too, and it could be the predicament that the team's in at the moment as well. It looked like he was trying too hard. He looked like he was trying to make something happen, and we've been talking about that player where you can say, okay, well, the game's on the line. We've got someone in our team that can put us on their back and carry us. And it looked like he was trying to do that, but he was doing it the wrong way. Trying to go the outside in slippery conditions, not communicating with your wingers, all that jazz. Going against Best, who has a mean fend, so you go high, or you could go low. That would work too.
I'd like to tackle regardless. Let's
he is. He's got thighs the size of tree trunks, but
slippery conditions as well. I just don't think he played to the conditions either. I don't think it helped him. Shocking game. We'll move on. I worry about Naden because he's a confidence player, I think, and I worry what that game did to him on the weekend. I hope that he can shake it off.
Yeah. Well, we need him to.
Lockie Galvin?
He wasn't a superstar, but he wasn't bad. I mean, can't really ask much more from an 18-year-old, can you? Like, he doesn't look like he's got the world on his shoulders. He doesn't overplay his hand. He does take the line on. He does tackle hard. He's just, the things that he's been creating lately, they just weren't coming to be. And
he's an 18-year-old half who made 21 tackles and missed 0.
And there you go. And that's the thing too. Like, if you really think about it, that in itself, not the tackling thing, but the fact that he didn't create magic or anything like that. It wasn't really the conditions to create magic. It was something to grind it out, and to have that intelligence to know when to switch it on and when to switch it off. That's pleasing in itself.
Yep. And again, he does still look dangerous. He still is a point-scoring option. They're just not always landing in our breadbasket at the moment. If you look at the kick that I said earlier, that kept on skidding on, that could have been something on there as well. So he's doing his job.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a great last-minute kick at the line, actually. He digs into the line so well, and he can kick and pass at the line.
It's a deft. It's really a deft touch if you look at it the way he does it. And you mentioned this, I think it was Olam's try against Parramatta. It was either Parramatta or whoever we beat before that. Sharks, maybe. I can't remember. I think it was Parramatta. The deft touch. And you mentioned it. how difficult that is to do on the run and get it perfect the way it is. Now, he was probably a couple of feet away from that being perfect. But again, it's such a strength in his game at 18 years old.
Yeah, it makes him a massive running threat too, because he obviously doesn't mind running the ball. So he's a genuine triple threat at the line, which makes him dangerous because teams hold off because they want to leave it as late as they can to make the decision. And he's already so good at hiding those three options. So getting those movements around him right is the secret. And we can see we look clunky but we're already close to making some of those chances work, particularly those little kicks at the line. They have worked, and they nearly worked again on the weekend.
Yeah.
Bud Sullivan, mate, 2 line break assists, 2 try assists. I thought he played well. Good on him.
Best game for us all year, and that's not hard to do.
Yeah.
But I'll go even one step further and say I think he was one of our best.
Yeah.
I think he really stood up.
He
and
produced points.
Yeah.
Produced points and ran the ball, created, kicked well too, actually.
He did.
Not brilliant, but he kicked pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. He did. If you notice too, and there was something that you were quite critical of Caesar last week, was Caesar wasn't really changing his direction to try to give himself more time. He just kicked under pressure regardless. Sullivan did that. Bud did that. He moved a couple of times, whether it was a step back or whether it was a shift to the left, or whether I think he went to kick, faked, and then ran the ball. You know, it was a good game. And again, very happy that was the case, because I'm hoping if he's a confidence player too, that's got to give him the world of confidence.
The other thing too is if he can develop his kicking game, that's a big thing, because if he wants to play halfback or if he wants to be versatile and he has a role as a 14 moving forward, I don't know that he does, but if he does, a kicking game is huge, because you know, we've seen what Caesar has been able to do when he's brought his boots, and a lot of people look for that very thing in a halfback. So look, let's hope he can back it up this weekend. He's playing opposite a bloke that many could probably draw comparisons to at one point in his career in Cody Nikorima. And look at what Nikorima's been able to do in terms of the improvement in his football as he's matured. So it's a big challenge against him this week, and let's see if he can match the performance.
Yeah, 100%.
Steph, mate?
Better. I thought he had a little bit more intent with his runs. The thing too is we're talking about, like we were talking about it for so long, or for the start of the season, his contribution, more so his contribution in terms of running meters and how they've dropped off. And again, I noticed that this time as well, it's because they keep kicking at Clemmer. They don't kick to Steph anymore. Like I don't even think Steph had a return off kickoff, but he still made 119 meters. So
14 runs, had 12. Yeah. I mean, that's only one component though, the kickoffs, isn't it? And we're not exactly scoring a load of tries to be receiving a lot of hit ups off kickoffs.
No, exactly. But in saying that, you still get 20 odd meters added to your tally when you have a kickoff return.
Do you? I've always actually wondered where they have those run meters from, because if somebody takes the ball and gets past it 5 into the in goal, surely they don't get 25 metres added every time if they get tackled at the 20.
Well, if somebody scores a try from the in goal, it's not a 100-metre try; it's a 105-metre try.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that. But that's what I'm just wondering of the kickoff specifically. I wonder if and how they measure those run meters.
I'd have to say, like, my personal opinion is that it's as soon as you receive the ball, no matter where you are.
Don't know.
Because
imagine if you had a team though that like scored 7 or 8 tries, and this is probably a redundant conversation, and they kicked to the same prop, and the prop ran 25 metres 8 times. He's going to run 200 metres just off kick returns from his team dominating the opposition.
Well, maybe it's as soon as you pass the try line or something, then.
That's what I mean. I don't know. You might be right. That might be what it is, but I'm just painting a picture of a situation. Anyway, tangent again. There goes another one. Appy had a bit of a quiet game. He did little bits and pieces in moments to try to get the team rolling, I think, in intensity and line speed and whatnot, as he tends to do. I thought he did tackle well and defended well in the middle.
Yeah, 40 tackles. 6 misses, but 40 tackles.
The no try, where Twal was in the way. I've heard a lot of people surprisingly actually say that was a try. To me, it wasn't a classic burrow between the legs, but Twal definitely impeded the defender at some point, even though the defender still got there.
I'm against you on that. I'd say that was definitely a try.
Yeah, for me, I reckon it's weak. I don't think you can have a defender anywhere in the play the ball anywhere in the picture. I think if you do, you're denying them in some way, shape, or form. I don't think that play the ball person can touch anybody, or it just affects the play.
Well, then it's not a burrower because a burrower is going through the legs.
Well, again, whether that's a technical term or not, I don't know. If they've said that it was no on the count of it being a burrower, and a burrower is defined as going between the legs of, I don't think it is. See, I don't think it's actually a set term. But that's just my understanding. I think it was just if a defender is impeded by the person playing the ball. And to me, even minorly so, and he was able to get another grab, I think there's no argument that Twal made contact with the defender, therefore minorly impeding it.
Yeah, see, I don't agree, but I can understand where you're coming from.
Thank you. That's perspective, mate. Good for you.
Look, I'm trying to be a nice guy lately.
Dave Clemmer. Dave's just ticking away. Thank God he's there, because he's like a metronome. He just comes in, he plays his 50 minutes, he runs his 130 metres, he makes his tackles, and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. And that's it. That's all he does need.
With Stefano's inconsistency, the middle would be in trouble without Clemmer. And a lot of people need to be viewing him for what he is, which is your Mr. Reliable in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've said the last few weeks. He's just he does what we need him to do.
Yeah. And a lot of people are often critical of David Clemmer's play the ball speed, thinking, he goes and backs into the line like Woods, always gets put on his back, and he has a slow play the ball speed. David Clemmer's play the ball speed through 10 hit-ups was 3.21 seconds. It's quicker than Steph. It was quicker than Semwella. It was quicker than Bateman, and it was quicker than Papali'i. In fact, he had the quickest play the ball speed in the entire run-on side. So, again, back to eye test, do stats always match up? It's interesting. I just think that because of one of the critiques that people still throw at Clem, he's slow and he has a slow play the ball speed. Maybe it's not as true as people might think.
Yeah. Look, I still think, and it's not just Clem that's guilty of this. I think everyone's guilty of this, is trying to fight to get up. I'd like to see more of it. I feel like we surrender way too much. And you've said this. You've said this so many times. I'm just repeating what you've said. So.
Yeah, and that's back to that earlier conversation we had in the year about the dark arts in the ruck and how that's controlling and manipulating games these days. And it's been so evident in not the last 4 weeks, but the 4 weeks we played the teams around us. So the Dragons, the Dolphins, the Bulldogs, and then last week against the Knights. All 4 of those teams did what you just mentioned. They fight on the ground. They fight, wriggle and squirm and step a half mark sideways off every time, which is no doubt they're coached for that, which means we fall a half step behind in the ruck. Or if they're in the ruck, they're peeling, like was it Crackdown years ago they seem to have forgotten about. They're flopping, which is hardly ever penalised anymore. Or they deliberately tangle themselves up and fight to get us into, worse positions in that last part to the ground. Where, we're just not doing it.
Yeah, no, and again, is it coaching that comes to that? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, I think that these are the 1%ers that we need to be more aware of. I think we're over here trying to play football. I think other teams are over here trying to win football games. What's that?
Yeah, I said play chess. We're playing checkers.
Samuel Afonu, I think it wasn't there much on offer. I don't think we went to his side much in attack, but he's definitely doing his job in defence, and he's an easy pick every week and out of position too.
Yeah, he moved to the centres for a bit. And look, again, I think he just keeps going from strength to strength. He looks like a seasoned veteran. It's really, really surprising to see. he's got a bit of a calm head on his shoulders. He can still fire up and he still gets into the nitty gritty of it. But again, it comes back to what we were talking about at the start of the year. He's learned to control that aggression and he's done it so quickly.
Yeah. No, it's he's wonderful. He's tracking really well. And like I keep saying, sooner or later, we're going to see a breakout game, I hope.
Yeah.
Excuse me, John Bateman, mate. Goodness me. Excuse me. He obviously has succumbed. I got you. He's obviously succumbed to that pec injury, and he's out for significant time, up to 8 weeks, unfortunately. So he was a victim of obviously having to move around a lot and was put on that edge. Struggled, to be perfectly frank. Couldn't match it with Armstrong.
No.
And got beaten and burnt on the outside. So,
as Gould says, there's no substitute for speed.
No, well, that's true. Exactly right. And he looked a bit of a yard slower. He looked the 30-year-old Englishman that he is, I think, whereas Bateman from a few years ago probably wouldn't have. But, I love Johnny Bateman, and it's just a shame we're going to miss him for so long.
Yeah.
Popey was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Ran for over 150 metres, scored 2 tries, was competitive in everything. He wasn't perfect. He still gave away a ruck penalty or a 6 again earlier in the match. But whilst we didn't get the opportunity to see everything he had to offer at lock, it looked good. It looked good in the middle.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it like you said, it's an experiment worth pursuing.
Yeah. Okay. Jake Simpkin, mate?
He got a bit of time. I think he came in. I think he actually came in and played that lock role you were suggesting he play.
I think he did in the middle, yeah.
I think he, again, didn't do anything spectacular. Was just another cog in the system that needed for it to turn. So,
yeah, and he's there if we need it. It's just unfortunate that the injuries that we had and the way that they worked out. Jake that's probably some of the few injuries that he didn't or couldn't really cover overly well. Out in the centres in the back line there. I mean, he can cover at halves if you want. He could cover anywhere in the forward pack, and he could obviously cover at hooker. So, but he got on and played a small role. I think that's probably going to be his role moving forward, but he's got to maintain his versatility there. I think Twal ran with a decent amount of purpose in this game. I've been highly critical of him, and we mentioned before, I thought he ran better, but still moments where he's being sloppy around the ruck, and he's not the only one, as you'll find out in a sec.
Yeah, I think he. I don't know. I'm just a little bit disappointed with Twally this year. Same as you.
Seafarth, mate, we didn't see a tremendous amount of him, or did we? No, we did. Sorry, he was on 57 minutes he played. So obviously he moved around a little bit, I think, as well. I think he moved to an edge at one stage and then was moved back into the rotation in the middle. Yeah,
33 tackles for 1 miss. Again, he's another one of those that's just when he's needed, he's doing his job again. It's not like when he started the season in lock and he just had an abomination after abomination. He's just doing his job now. So,
yeah, and the effort's still there. He's still chasing hard and putting in the 1%ers. So again, dove on a ball on the weekend and just knocked it on. So they get a 6 again. So it's just the effort just isn't getting rewarded. It's almost being punished with us at the moment. Now, Fanua Pole, he played some decent minutes in the middle. I've got an issue with Pole, and it's something I've been noticing, and I can't now unsee it. You watch on the weekend when he's in the middle, I've got major concerns because he frequently will sit 2 metres behind the defensive line, which causes those around him to collapse in. And it happened. It's what in some ways caused the try on halftime against Newcastle. Because Dane Gagai is snaking across the field. Pole is sitting 2 metres back from the defensive line, and that draws Galvin slightly in to try to fill that hole, worried that Gagai will slice through it as Pole pushes up into the line. He then is able to get that kick away, whereas if Pole was up in the line, he wouldn't have had the time to move into that space to make the kick. It's happening a lot. Last time we played the Dolphins, I was scathing on his efforts in and around the ruck. It was awful. So there's big issues, and I don't know why he's doing it, but frequently, and watching him on the weekend, I hope he doesn't, Pole sits back behind the defensive line 2 metres or so from where he should be. And that causes massive issues. You can see clearly hips and ankles and shoulders turn in our defence and adjust their gait because they recognise their guy's not there. It's a big issue and it's got to be fixed, because noticing what I noticed on the weekend, I don't want to, but part of me wants to go back and watch every try this year when he was on the field, and I'm going to have some concerns that he was actually probably involved in some of them that may have not been the case, particularly around the middle.
Okay. Well, I clearly haven't noticed it, so I think that might be something I need to go and review a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, look, other than that, and I know that was a pretty serious way to present that piece of information, but other than that, he's still growing in that regard, and he's still
a pretty big piece of the puzzle. I mean,
yeah, it's something that has gone unnoticed by me, and it concerned me when I saw it because of how big a role it played in the couple of instances I have seen it happen. So, yeah, it's an issue, but he needs to continue developing. And again, it's easy to forget he's still a young man as well, finding his feet. So hopefully we can continue to trend upwards in that regard, mate. That was the Knights game.
I was going to say that I think the thing that kind of frustrates me just a little bit, though, is he'd be coming up on 50 games, 50 first-grade games. For something like that to be something that's still in his defensive structure, it's definitely something I'd be concerned about.
Yeah, well, I guess that's true. I didn't think it would be that many, but you're probably right. 42. Yeah, so he's getting up there, and he turns 22 in a couple of weeks. So we would expect to start to see hopefully a couple of those deficiencies start to be amended, but that's part of coaching. So let's make sure that happens. All right, mate, that's the Knights game. Happy to wrap that up there. We'll look ahead to the Dolphins this week quickly.
Yep.
All right. So Tigers play the Dolphins, the Redcliffe Dolphins, up at Magic Round, and they play that 6:25 on Sunday evening, the final game of the round. Now, we're up here. Hopefully we can go. I think you've got plans to head at some point over the weekend.
My old man, he didn't want to go see the Tigers play, so I'll be watching the Tigers game at home.
Yeah, well, there you go. And we play the high-flying Dolphins now. We have had a bit of rain around, but I think it is looking at being dry for the weekend, which is good because a chopped-up Suncorp Stadium is not good news for an already injury-hit side. So we'll have to wait and see how that happens. And, of course, the hammer returns for the Dolphins, mate. That's great timing for them. Great for us.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. Jesus.
Yeah. It's pretty typical.
They don't need him back. They don't need him back. Like, I mean, you're already on top.
Playing well, hasn't
he? Yeah. Just so.
Okay, let's go through our side. Dream Buller at fullback, Charlie Staines and Solomon Alamalo returns on the wing. Brent Naden moves back to the centres with Justin Olam. We have Lachlan Galvin and Bud Sullivan in the halves once more. Stefano, Clemmer and Appy are the front row as always. Samuela Fainu maintains his spot in the second row. Then we have Seafarth filling in for the injured Bateman, and Alex Twal is coming in at lock for the suspended Isaiah Papali'i. But then got Jake Simkin, Fanua Pole, Asuka Poa, and Sione Fainu comes in at 17 to make his debut, the third of the Fainu brothers to make their debut this year for the club. So that's exciting, and he's been playing some good footy in reserve grade and impressed early in the trials before he injured his foot too. So tracking well. The extended reserves list then is Talon De Silva, Solomon Tape, Alex Lobb, Kit Lelali'i, and Tony Sukkar is the 22. Mate, the key changes there, obviously. Alamalo coming back in, looked solid prior.
Yeah, it's like you said last week, it didn't feel like he did anything to deserve being dropped. So I think he slots straight back in.
Seafarth comes in for the injured Bateman on an edge. I think in terms of effort output, he can certainly match it with Johnny Bateman. And do you like Seafarth on an edge or do you prefer him in the middle?
Wait and see.
Okay. Yeah, fingers crossed he can hold his own. Again, like I said, no doubt. and then 12 comes back at lock. Surely that's just a gap filler at the moment. I'm assuming that Matamua must be injured or suspended or otherwise unavailable, because surely he comes into contention.
Yeah, I think it's just a gap filler. I don't think that's a long-term thing.
In fact, I think Papali'i might be the one there, based on what we saw last week.
Yep.
And so then we've got Asu Kapoa coming back in, probably there to fill the versatility role and look to be an edge. I dare say Seafarth will probably drop back into the forward rotation to some degree. So there is a bit of versatility there, and Sione Fainu then can play prop or lock himself as well, probably quite versatile as well. So he'll be somewhere there in the middle.
Yep.
Now, if Sione plays anything like what we're seeing with Samuela, that'll be a pretty encouraging sign for the side on the weekend.
I think so. I think, Sione's been in the assist, and I think this is his third year at the Tigers, or second? I can't remember.
He joined the starter last year, I think.
Yeah, so, obviously his younger brother's got to start before he did, but, he's still, from what I've seen recently in the New South Wales Cup, he's a goer. He's definitely tries hard and he runs hard, and that's all we really need from a prop rotation.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm happy to see him, and I'm keen to see him get some minutes on the weekend. Keen to see how he continues to develop, because I think he's a player there too, and a possible lock option myself personally. Mate, how do you beat the Dolphins on the weekend? They're a side that aren't exactly brimming with superstars, but they get the job done in the top four.
Because they take their moments.
Yeah, they're the opposite, aren't they?
The exact opposite of us. If there is a moment, they have 8 players around the ball to make sure that something happens from it. We have our moments. We have 8 players around it, but they're there to knock it on. So that's how do we beat them? I think for them it's not really one person that can open up. If you had to put it down to one person, obviously the Hammer can create something out of nothing. Such a skillful player, but he has been missing in action for 4 or 5 weeks. I think he injured his leg against us, so he hasn't played since he played us. But there is a little bit of a saving grace for us, and you mentioned it in our chat. I think Max Plath has been ruled out for concussion. He's been absolutely he's been a fantastic player for them.
Yeah.
He's been so solid at lock.
And he epitomises them too. He's just nuggety, small, hard-working, all effort. Doesn't miss his tackles. Never shirks his assignment.
No, exactly. So that's a little bit of a saving grace for us. But yeah, for me, just to beat the Dolphins, we really just obviously just need to limit the amount of time Hammer has, but 2, just take our chances. That's how we win. Because I think anyone can beat the Tigers. I think. You got Katoa, who's really playing well for a young half as well. So, you put pressure on him. But it's pretty much stock standard of how you beat any team. Limit the amount of time their best player has and pressure their kicker and take your chances. That's how we beat them.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, isn't it?
It is.
I agree. I don't have a formula how to take the chances better, but quite simply, that's their job. They need to take their chances. And once again on the weekend, we will be presented with opportunities or chances, half chances. Whether it's a line break here, whether it's a kick deflection there or a grubber or whatever the case may be, or, getting a perfectly timed pass away. We've got to be good enough to take them because, like we mentioned earlier, because we're not taking any of them, we're not good enough to score an additional 5 or 6 tries every game on top of creating 3 or 4 chances that we bomb. So that's why we're not scoring points, because we're not taking those chances and we don't have enough extra points in us to do it. If we were taking our chances, we'd be scoring 25, 30 points a game.
Yeah, easy.
But we're not. We're not at the moment. So, yeah, I agree. Look, in realistic terms, I think you pressure the halves immensely. The reason being is I worry about Bostock. And if they're allowed to sit back and put the ball on a point, he'll just jump and leap all day. And we could have some issues in that regard. So I think if you pressure him and add a fair bit
is
to them
on Marlowe's side? Or is he on
I get the left and rights with the numbers confused.
Or it's the opposite.
Centres cross over, but the wingers match up. Is that right?
No. Wingers crossover.
Yeah.
So
Well, there you
if
go. James
Bostock's
is on Bostock, Alamalo's on Osako, who can both leap. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
I would have been more comfortable if Alamalo was on it, but that's okay.
The other thing I'd probably look at is Jake Averillo's side. He's had a few issues with his defence, and he has, I think Aitken and Kafusi have been there on their edges for most of the year. But, I think that we could probably see if we could work their edge a little bit. Naden back in centre, at least starting in centre, is looking decent, but that's obviously Olam's side, sorry. So getting Olam a bit of early ball and letting him use his strength on Averillo, who, whilst he's strong, probably is more quick in terms of his speed. So maybe try to get at his side and see if we can make a bit of stuff happen around Lockie and a bit of deception there.
Look, again, I'm happy for everything to just work for us. Like, it'd be really nice to have just the sunshine on us on Sunday night and just have things go our way in every aspect. But it's like really unfortunate who our bunker referee is, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll leave that as a research project for anybody who hasn't checked yet. Mate, did we win on the weekend?
What's the score, did you say?
Do we win, and what's the score?
I'm just going to keep saying we win until we bloody do. Just keep putting it out in the universe.
Good for you.
Yeah, 20-12.
Okay, good on you. I'm going to say it plays out exactly the same way that it has in the previous few games. The Dolphins will be okay. We'll look the better team for a decent part of the game, and they'll take their moments. And we'll lose 4 tries to 3 again. So what's that going to make it? 24-20 with a penalty goal, 24-18, something like that.
Yeah.
My bold prediction, Sione Fainu will throw a short ball for a try. So he'll have a try assist.
Okay. My bold prediction is that this game is Samuela's breakout game.
Ooh, nice. So we're both going the Fainu train.
Yep.
He's due a breakout game, and it's going to come sooner or later. We know that. But he's already exceeding expectation, let's be honest.
Yeah. It doesn't need anything else to prove, but it'd be nice.
6:25 p.m. Up in Brisbane, up where we are in Suncorp Stadium on Sunday evening. If you are in and around there, get there. I'm going to do my very best to try to get there. Toby doesn't know that yet, but I'm headhunting hard. We're going to see how we go in that regard. Mate, anything else you want to add on that game, or we'll sail off into the sunset?
Nah, let's just sail off and let our listeners have a bit of a break.
Yeah, have a breather from the rants for another week. Look forward to Magic Round. So once again, thanks to our sponsors, Best on Ground Digital, bestongrounddigital.com. I do it every week. I stumble over that.
Yeah, I got used to that.
They will not steer you wrong. The digital marketing agency looks after the little guy. Whatever you want in regards to anything digital marketing, they're your one-stop shop, bestongrounddigital.com. Mate, we always recommend the West Tigers podcast and the wonderful job those blokes do over there. So get on over to your favourite platforms if you haven't already. And if you haven't, speaking of platforms, you can find us on Spotify, iTunes or Apple, YouTube, Facebook and Instagram. And you can observe us, listen to us, comment, do all those things, get in touch, send us messages, let us know what you think of the games, and give us a bit of feedback on how you feel we're travelling and what you made of Richo's letter that he released earlier this week to the members. I didn't mind it personally. It shows that he gets the frustration without being told. So I think he could feel the frustration and he wanted to get ahead and let them know that, hey, we get you. We're frustrated too.
Yeah.
Mate, that's about it. Another show. Done and dusted. We're ready for bed. This is late.
Oh, man, I'm so ready for bed.
All right, well, we better finish it off, mate, with just a little thing we like to say. Go the mighty West Tigers.
Up the Tigers.